Hi, Professor Hinderrocker and fellow classmates. This is my critical assignment for Chem 332, and my name is Marissa Seaforth. First, I'm going to get started in some major changes in gait during early childhood. Just a few of the things. At first, each step tends to be independent of the next. The toddler will take short steps with little leg and hip extension. The toddler steps with flat feet and points its toes outward. The toddler will also spread its feet wide apart when planted to improve its lateral balance. The toddler doesn't seem to use any trunk rotation. In addition, the toddler will also hold its arms up in a high guard. That is, its hands and arms are carried in a high and bent position, similar to kind of a penguin shuffling around. As the child continues to develop, its arms will dip down to about waist level and later on an extended position at the sides, but they still will not swing. When children do begin to use the arm swing, it frequently is unequal and irregular. Now into childhood. Children usually achieve developmental changes in walking by an early age. By age 4, most children have that essential ingredients of an advanced walk. My next bullet points just gets into some more specific points in ages when certain things occur. So I'm going to go on to the next bullet point, which the length of time for one foot supports body weight while the other swings forward increases, especially from 1 year to 2.5 years of age. Stride length will increase throughout mid-adolescence, partly because of the fuller range of motion at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, and partly because of the increase in leg length resulting from growth. The rhythm and coordination of a child's walk improve observably until age 5 or so, but beyond that age, pattern improvements are subtle. Into adulthood, the stride length increases, reflecting greater application of force and greater leg length extension at the push-off. Leg length contributes to a longer stride as well. Planting of the foot on the ground changes to a heel then forefoot pattern, resulting in an increased range of motion. In addition, out-toeing is reduced and narrows the base of support laterally to keep the forces exerted in the forward-backward plane. The adult also adopts a double knee lock pattern to assist the full range of leg motion. The pelvis rotates to allow a full range of motion and oppositional movement of the upper and lower body segments. And then the arm swings become relaxed and moved from the shoulder with a slight accompanying movement at the elbow. Then going into older adulthood, as individuals enter older age, they will again tend to change in a more predictable way as certain individual constraints tend to change more. Older men walk in a pattern similar to that of younger men, but with these few differences. So step length of the older men was approximately 3 centimeters shorter. Older men toed out approximately 3 degrees more than younger men. Older men had a reduced degree of ankle extension. And then pelvic rotation was diminished in older men as well. In addition, older women showed great out-toeing, shorter stride length, and less pelvic rotation than younger women. And then another common finding is that older adults walk more slowly than younger adults. And this could be due to spatial orientation, balance issues, but I'll get into that in just a few minutes. Theories and principles related to development. So one of them is the maturational perspective. The maturational perspective explains developmental change as a function of maturational processes. In particular, through the central nervous system that control or dictate motor development. According to the assumptions of this theory, motor development is an internal or innate process driven by a biological or genetic time clock. This was focused more on school-age children. Information processing perspective. According to this perspective, the brain acts like a computer, taking in information, processing it, and outputting the movement. The process of motor learning and development then is described in terms like a more of a computer-like operation that occurs as a result of some external or environmental input. This was tended to be studied in young adults first, then increased to children and older adults, comparing them with the young adults. And then the last one is an ecological perspective. This approach stresses the interrelationship between the individual, the environment, and the task. According to this perspective, you must consider all interactions of all constraints in order to understand the emergence of a motor skill. So things like the individual's body type, their motivation to want to develop and walk, the temperature, as an example, say they're holding a ball, what the ball size is. And then that goes into the ecological perspective, goes into a dynamic systems approach and perspective action approach. Gait abnormalities. So gait abnormalities in early childhood, in-toeing or out-toeing, bow-legged or knock knees. In childhood, circumduction gait. This is excessive hip abduction as the leg swings forward. Another one is a spastic gait, which is stiff foot dragging with foot inversion. This is usually a neurological disease. Into adulthood, an antalgic gait, usually caused by pain. In order to avoid the pain, the weight is put on the affected leg as short of a period of time as possible, resulting in a limp. This is usually due to ankle sprains or stress fractures in the lower legs. Another one is a coxalgic gait. This is in people with hip pain. The upper trunk is typically shifted towards the affected side. And then gait abnormalities in older adulthood. Osteoarthritis causes structural constraints, usually from pain in the joints or a decrease in muscle mass. And then a Parkinsonian gait, which I found pretty interesting, is walking appears to be slow, arm swing is reduced, and legs may be dragged or feet shuffled. So they're actually called a Parkinson's shuffle. They kind of shuffle along with their feet dragging on the ground. Possible physical constraints. In early childhood, not being able to move their legs alternately, not enough strength to support themselves on a single limb, muscle strength in the trunk and extensor muscles to maintain an upright posture on a small base of support. During childhood, an antalgic gait. This is usually due to pain of some sort. The Trendelenburg's gait results from hip abductor muscle weakness or hip pain, and then a stepping gait. The entire leg is lifted at the hip to assist with the ground clearance. Also has a weak ankle dorsiflexors with increased knee flexion. More possible physical constraints during adulthood. So a decrease in muscle mass resulting in energy production of the anaerobic system. Obesity. This can lead to a sedentary lifestyle, resulting in a decrease in aerobic performance. And then this goes into strength levels. So there can be a decrease in strength levels, especially in the muscles of the upper legs. So the obesity kind of can lead into that. And then going into older adulthood, continued decrease in anaerobic power capacity, osteoarthritis, and then gait modifications due to pain or changes in balance. Possible perceptual constraints. In early childhood, one can be inadequate visual development, inadequate level to use kinesthetic information for balance instead of visual information. So they're not aware of their surroundings. They use more visual than, say, touch and feel. And then a decrease in tactile location. In childhood, lack of spatial orientation, visual acuity problems, and then a decrease in tactile location as well. During adulthood, one is lack of figure and ground perception, and then lack of whole and part perception. So they're just perception of the ground and the area around them is lacking. Going into older adulthood, there is a decline in the ability of the balance, a decrease in visual acuity known as presbyopia or old-sightedness, so they just don't see as well as they did when they were younger. And then other visual disturbances such as cataracts and glaucoma. And then these are my references. And then references continued. And this concludes my critical assignment for Kin 332. Thank you very much.